Thank you for joining me today for the National Geographic Reach for Reading Orchestrating Small Group Instruction for Kindergarten. This is the on-demand training module that will help you integrate small group instruction in your classroom. My name is Denise Detmar. I am the Associate National Training Manager for National Geographic Learning, and I'm excited to assist you in this training today. While the big question can whet the student's appetite for reading, good literature seals the deal. Reach for Reading includes Caldecott and Newbery winners, as well as National Geographic exclusive articles and interviews with scientists and explorers. The rich multicultural selections and the assortment of genres entice the students. When they have something in front of them that they want to read, they are motivated to learn how to read well. Reach for Reading's leveled libraries will help ensure that students have access to high-interest nonfiction texts at their appropriate reading levels. Let's look at our goals for the session today. We're going to look at understanding the research behind small group reading, learn what to consider when creating your reading groups in the classroom. We'll identify the small group reading plans and lesson plans that are included in Reach for Reading Kindergarten. We'll investigate the student learning stations in Reach for Reading and also view the online resources. Let's get started. Fontes and Pennell have a rationale for teaching small group reading. Quote, teachers cannot expect students to expand their reading abilities on their own, even if they are given time to read. Explicit instruction is essential for most students and will make reading more powerful for all students. So what is small group reading? Small group reading is instruction where the teacher is working with a small group of students on a specific learning objective. These groups consist of 2 to 6 students to provide students with a reduced student-teacher ratio, and small group instruction usually follows whole group instruction. You may be asking, why should I use small group reading in my classroom? Students can be reached that have varying interests, that have varying strengths, and varying personalities. Small group reading is truly been proven by research to be more effective than only using whole group instruction. Small group reading allows for flexibility and individual growth. It provides opportunities for students to work closely with peers and with the text. And small group reading enhances development as critical readers, writers, talkers, and thinkers as the students share what they know and have learned about the big question. So what is guided reading and how is that different from small group instruction? Guided reading is an instructional approach that involves a teacher working with a small group of students. These students demonstrate similar reading behaviors and can all read similar levels of text with teacher support and scaffolding. These groups are flexible and temporary as students' needs change. And guided reading is an important component of balanced literacy. So we tend to use guided reading in our small group instruction. Why use guided reading? Students can develop as individual readers while teachers are available for support and also for scaffolding. In guided reading, students learn skills and strategies that will allow them to read difficult texts independently. Students will experience success in reading for meaning and for comprehension, and students truly do receive more individualized teaching time. Teachers can use good literature to strengthen reading comprehension strategies through guided reading. Now let's look at the Reach for Reading small group instruction. There are two different types of instruction that you'll see in the Teacher's Edition. Implementation of Reach for Reading follows a best practice approach to instruction. Although there are many grouping formats that teachers may use for reading instruction in their classrooms, we focus on two primary types: heterogeneous groups and homogeneous groups. Whole group instruction targets the needs of the heterogeneous group in the form of mini lessons, while leveled reading time, it's called leveled reading time in grades K through 2, or small group reading time in grades 3 through 6, targets the homogeneous needs of each reading group. These two types of instruction are meant to be teacher-led. While the teacher is working with this small group, there will be other groups of students or partners who are working independently from the teacher. Too often in guided reading sessions, the comprehension focus points are random, and they're guided by the content of the text, rather than the teachers choosing the text based on the comprehension focus being explored in the whole class setting. Guided reading can be accomplished with Reach for Reading small group lessons because we focus on the same comprehension skill and strategy both in whole group instruction and in small group instruction. We will focus on the small group reading format in Reach for Reading today. Reach for Reading focuses on a gradual release of responsibility. The role of the teacher and the student changes with time. This is, in my opinion, risk-free learning. Educators teach and model first, and then allow students to practice the skill or strategy in a small group or in a large group with teacher support and scaffolds. Then the teachers begin releasing the students to try it on their own. This is also referred to as I do, we do, and you do. You can notice on this graph here the role of the students increases while the role of the teacher decreases as they move through modeling, sharing, guiding, and then applying that skill or strategy. Best practices based on research are found online in the Professional Development link and in the Unit 1 and 2 Teachers Editions. Author monographs are found online and include Orchestrating Instruction by Leda Kratke and Jennifer Turner. This would be a must-read before beginning small groups in your classroom. Reach for Reading incorporates best practices into the program using literacy routines. Specific routines for kindergarten are found in the Professional Development link on the myngconnect.com website. I have pointed out a few routines that connect to small group reading here: small group and partner activities, leveled reading routines, learning station routines, and an independent reading routine in kindergarten. Also found in the Professional Development link online are brief recorded video sessions. I suggest viewing the session on small group reading, Reach for Reading and the Daily 5, close reading, and differentiating instruction as you begin to develop small group reading in your classroom. Those modules are found here in the Research and Best Practices tab. The instruction in Reach for Reading is set up in a workshop-based model, beginning with whole group instruction before moving on to small group reading time and learning station time. So what are some ways to group your students as you begin your small group instruction in the classroom? There are many ways to group your students for small group or leveled reading instruction. In Kindergarten Reach for Reading, the term leveled reading time is synonymous with small group reading time. You can group your students based on interest, ability, friendships, when sometimes you choose to allow the students to make that choice. The teachers can also make a choice. Students can be grouped by gender, similar or mixed talents, a needs-specific skill such as phonics or reteaching in any area. Running records, placement tests, and student observations are terrific tools to help create small groups in the classroom. Keep in mind, these groups will be flexible and may change throughout the year as students progress and also need reteaching on specific skills and strategies. Let's look at the benchmark assessment first. The benchmark test measures proficiency in Common Core reading and writing skills. There are 3 forms of the kindergarten benchmark test, and they are available in a separate benchmark test master's booklet and also online. These tests can be administered 1, 2, or 3 times throughout the year. Another test is the reading placement test. This reading placement test includes prompt cards for kindergarten and is provided to determine a student's reading level so teachers can place students in the appropriate leveled books. This placement test is available in print or online under the Teacher Resources tab. Each unit in Reach for Reading follows the same instructional path. You will always begin with a unit launch and introduction of the theme before moving on to the instruction, which is broken down into 4 weeks. Each week of instruction incorporates phonemic awareness, phonics, and reading. The instruction for a student writing project is introduced in week 2, but may also be worked on throughout the entire unit. And each unit ends with a unit wrap-up. Down the left side of this table of contents page, you'll see the genre of reading and the guided reading levels. You'll also see the close readings highlighted, and there are multiple close readings per unit. These are highlighted in blue. The phonics skills and read on your own decodable books are listed on the right, and the leveled libraries with the guided reading levels are listed along the bottom. These are the titles we will use for small groups or leveled reading time. As we have talked about, Reach for Reading is based on the rotational model. A model day would have whole group instruction to start the day. While the teacher is meeting with small groups for leveled reading or differentiation, the students are at learning stations or engaged in independent workstations. Teachers will then bring the students back for whole group time as a beneficial way to wrap up the day. Keep in mind that the time frames will vary depending upon your schedule, along with the types of stations depending on your district mandates or your choice. Remember that leveled reading and learning station times occur simultaneously. The resources pages in the front of each unit are divided so that you can see the resources needed for whole group time, leveled reading time, learning station time, and also planning resources, assessments, and reteaching. Keep in mind, in kindergarten, the learning station activities are found in the book called Teamwork Activities, and you have one trifold green book that is shown in the learning station time section here. In this Skills at a Glance page, you'll see all the skills for the entire unit broken down by week. Leveled reading texts and learning station activities are shown on the Skills at a Glance page, and you'll notice that right here with the blue arrows. Looking at the weekly planner, you'll notice that each day is divided into the workshop layout mentioned earlier with whole group, small group, and learning stations. Common Core standards are listed for each lesson. The tested skills are identified with a check mark in a red box, and the foundational skill instruction is built right into each day. Suggested times are listed for each lesson, but the online lesson planner can be also used to customize instructional time. Here you'll notice where the leveled reading time is pointed out and the learning station time on this weekly planner. Now let's take a look at the specific leveled reading for the unit. We'll use Unit 2 as our example. Each unit, except for Unit 1 and 9, that only has 2 weeks of instruction, has 4 weeks of instruction with 3 leveled books and 1 read aloud each week. These books for each week include an above-level text, an on-level text, and a below-level nonfiction text. A fictional read aloud is also part of the leveled reading in kindergarten. The next 2 pages provide specific details for the reading routines you'll be using during leveled reading time. We'll take a look at each one of these days specifically. The small group reading lessons follow the same format each week. This format includes teachers selecting and introducing the text, students reading and writing, and finally connecting across multiple texts. Teachers have an opportunity to conduct conferences with students each week and also offer additional self-selected reading as well. After the texts are introduced, students will have a chance to partner read and also do some independent reading. Independent writing is also included in the small group reading lesson format, along with retelling the story before they connect across texts with a partner or another small group. There is also an opportunity for self-selected reading at the end of the week. Conferences may also be conducted with individual students. Teachers will assess reading and writing and plan intervention or acceleration. A list of additional recommended books is included to guide children in choosing books to read independently. Keep in mind, all of the things we just discussed are resources for you. Each week may look a little different based on time, schedule, and student need. Make these literacy resources work for you and your students to create success in the classroom. Now let's look at each day specifically. Let's look at day 1, leveled reading. Teachers would begin by introducing the read aloud. A read aloud routine on page BP 20 for Unit 2 allows you to introduce the read aloud for the week. Next, in small group, the text that you selected would be assigned to students. In the specific lesson plan for that book, you will see a building background activity that you can use with the students in small group. You'll also use the preview section to preview the text with each small group. Then students can be put into pairs, distribute those books, and then monitor the pairs and circulate to assess and monitor, and ask clarifying questions about the text as you circulate. Now you'll want to select the right text for students. An easy text would allow children to focus on the meaning and enjoy the humor and suspense. The instructional text allows readers to learn more and progress, and it also provides practice of known strategies while also allowing for problem solving. A difficult text for students may be discouraging to a reader, but it also may encourage students with a challenge. So try to select the right text based on the intention that you have for the text and your students. Now let's look at day 2. Day 2 is set aside for independent reading. Children will read independently and whisper read on their own to practice fluency. Again, you'll circulate and use the leveled reading observation log to record individuals' progress. After students read, you may group children who read the same book and use the build comprehension questions in the teaching resources to check and extend their understanding. On day 3, students have an opportunity to engage in independent writing. Teachers will model how to complete the writing options from the teaching resources and have children choose one of the writing options to complete. Teachers will then monitor writing by circulating around the room or the small group and have children who are not yet writing dictate their ideas or create drawings. After children complete their writing, choose a way for them to share their work. On day 4, students have an opportunity to retell and also connect across texts. This is where teachers will form new groups and model with these students how to retell. You may choose to make a group from one student that read the above level book, one or two students that read the at level book, and one or two students that read the below level book. Guide the discussion using the Making Connections questions and also give students a chance to extend their reading. This would allow students to read additional books that they haven't read during the week that may be at a different level. Children can choose to read independently or with a partner. On day 5, it's time for self-selected reading and conferences. For self-selected reading, teachers will provide the books, and you may choose to have children complete a reading log. During conferences, teachers will listen to the child read aloud, discuss their writing, set their goals, and also provide reteaching or enrichment options for the following week. The pages that follow provide teaching resources for each one of the leveled readers. For each reader, you have an overview of the book, the title, the author, page count, genre, and content connection, a summary of the text, prior knowledge activation, a preview of the text, building comprehension questions, and also writing options. So what are the other students doing while you're working with your small groups? Now that you know what you will be doing, let's look what the rest of the class will be doing. Remember that you want to have students reading, writing, speaking, and listening each day. Students might be reading independently or in small groups. They might be writing in response journals or working online with the phonics or vocabulary games. Students may also be participating in the Learning Station activities which are included in Reach for Reading. They may also be doing related word work practice or literacy centers, listening, doing word sorts, or vocabulary practice. Let's look at the Learning Stations. Learning Stations are provided for vocabulary and language, reading and writing, cross-curricular, word work, and more. Learning stations are to be used in small or independent groups during rotations while the teacher is meeting with small groups for differentiation, guided reading, reteaching, or literature circles. These learning station options are found in the blue pages before the week's instruction. Let's look at some options for a rotational model with varying numbers of groups. Here you'll see reading in a station rotation model, where individual students are listening to audio recordings or books. Another group is reading to self and writing, and the third group is teacher-led reading groups. Here's another rotational model using 3 groups, where each rotation meets with the teacher, works on centers, and then also has independent time. This one shows 4 groups, where the rotations are meeting with the teacher, working on computers or at a listening center, doing independent seat work, or at centers or stations. There are multiple options as you begin your small group instruction. And I would also suggest Daily 5 and Cafe as a great resource in kindergarten. Again, some of these modules and recorded sessions are found in the professional development link on our website, myngconnect.com. The other resources we discussed today are found in the resource directory right above the professional development link. One idea I found using Google for organizing your leveled books is shown here. Search google.com and narrow the search to images for more ideas. Whether you have years of experience or have just started your education journey, this is the beginning of an exciting start to small groups and increased student success in the classroom. So think about it. What are you most excited about when it comes to orchestrating small groups in your Reach for Reading kindergarten classroom? Our goals for this session were to understand the research, learn what to consider when creating reading groups, identify the small group lesson plans included in our program, investigate the student learning stations, and also view the online resources. I hope you have found our orchestrating small group instruction in kindergarten very beneficial, and I hope you'll take some time to also view the other on-demand training modules for kindergarten in Reach for Reading. Thanks so much for joining me today.